The apical four-chamber view is one of the most useful views in bedside echo. It allows me to assess both the ventricles, the atria, the mitral and the tricuspid valves, and the interventricular septum, all in a single image. But there is a problem. Many people place the probe too medially and obtain something which resembles a four-chamber view, and they just accept it. This can produce a misleading assessment, particularly of the ventricular size and its function. In this particular video, I will show you exactly how to obtain and optimize apical four-chamber view in an ICU patient. So first, it's the patient's positioning. As we have told in the plaques also, whenever possible, turn the patient to the left lateral. This brings the heart closer to your chest wall and moves the lung away from your imaging window. But this may not be always possible in a patient who is critically ill. That's very much okay. It's not a problem. That's alright. The apical view can still be attempted in the supine position. This may simply need a better searching and looking more laterally. So what I do is I usually begin around the fifth intercostal space where I feel the maximal cardiac impulse. I place the probe with the marker towards the patient's left, approximately 3 o'clock position depending on the Mason's convention. But this particular part is very important. Always start more lateral to than you think you want to start. Always start more lateral. In many difficult patients, the best apical window is close to the mid-axillary line. So, once the heart appears, once you see the heart is appearing, ask 4 questions. First, can I see all the 4 chambers or not? Second, is the apex visible or not? Third, is the ventricular septum parallel to my ultrasound beam? And finally, the right ventricle must be the largest true dimension. So these are the 4 things that you must ask yourself when you first see. If the answer to any of this is no, then optimize the image first. How do you do it? There are 3 movements that we will do. The first, go from medial to lateral. This thing is going to stay forever. More lateral, more lateral. Think of the probe as encircling the cardiac's apex. When you move laterally, the right ventricle becomes more prominent. When you move medially, the image emphasizes the left ventricle and its lateral wall. So, for a standard 4-chamber view, I search for the position where the interventricular septum is nearly parallel to the ultrasound beam. Now, do not merely slide the probe across the chest. Move around the apex while continuously watching the septum. Make sure it's getting parallel. Now, the second movement, cranial to caudal. Now, this will correct what? It will correct your foreshortening. If the probe is more cranial, the first left ventricle will appear short, roundish and spherical. Your apex is missing there. This will make the ventricular volumes appear smaller and will distort your regional function assessment. So to correct it, move it downwards more caudally. Search for a longer, more elliptical left ventricle with clearly defined apex. A rounded left ventricle is often not a rounded ventricle. It's rarely like that. So simply it's foreshortening of the image and you have to correct it. Now foreshortening matters particularly when you're assessing the ventricular size, ejection fraction, the apical wall motion and even looking for apical thrombus. For a quick examination of the valves, minor foreshortening is acceptable, but it is not at all acceptable for any ventricular measurements. The last motion, third, rotation. This is especially important when you're trying to assess the right ventricle. A small change in the probe rotation can make the right ventricle appear dramatically small or absolutely large. So I rotate the probe gently until I can see the right ventricle at its maximal dimension. Both the tricuspid valves, leaflets moving very clearly. Now, never diagnose a right ventricular dilatation just from a single image. It may be poorly aligned. So, first optimize your probe position, rotate it, compare the right ventricle with the left ventricle, then do your assessment. Now, once I have the correct plane, now I will adjust the machine. What will I do? I will adjust my depth so that my heart fills the screen, and I will make the heart at the center of my focus. I will adjust the gain such that my myocardium and the endocardium borders are very clearly visible and without any filling of the chambers with unnecessary noise. This is very important. In ICU patients, the image quality may change with respiration. This you have to accept. If the lung is obstructing the window, I just ask the spontaneously breathing patient to hold the breath after taking a gentle inhalation. In ventilated patients, you watch the ventricular cycle in each cycle and then freeze the image where you find the best window. Now, sometimes the expiration will improve your view. Sometimes you will see that the inspiration is moving the heart into the window. So these things will happen. You choose the best place where you are seeing the best image. So whichever phase gives the best image, use that one. Now, body habitus is another important thing that has to be kept in mind when you are searching for the apical view. In obese and patients who have raised diaphragm, the heart is often more horizontal. So the apical window is more lateral and slightly cranial. However, in thin patients, it's more vertical and maybe in some patients behind the sternum also. In women, I usually scan from underneath the breast rather than attempting to scan through the breast tissue. So to convert the four chamber view into the other views, first we must obtain a good four chamber view. So once you have got a good four chamber view, tilt the probe slightly anteriorly and towards the patient's head. What it will do is it will bring the left ventricular outflow tract and the aortic valve into the image. So what you will get is called the so-called fifth chamber view. Now it is the left ventricular outflow tract and the aortic root, not another chamber. Now this view is particularly useful for examining the aortic valve and obtaining Doppler measurements across the left ventricular outflow tract. To obtain the apical two chamber view, return to the four chamber view. Rotate the probe counterclockwise. Now as you rotate, the right ventricle gradually disappears. So when only the left ventricle and the left atrium remain, I have reached my two chamber. Now this view is particularly useful for examining the anterior and inferior walls and for looking carefully at the apex. If you are suspecting apical thrombus, never rely on the four chamber view alone. Always go for other views like multiple views and especially look at the two chamber view. So now I continue my counterclockwise rotation. As I keep rotating, I find that the left ventricular outflow tract, the aortic valve and the ascentic aorta appear. What I have reached now is the apical three chamber view, which is the apical long axis view. This view shows the left ventricle, the atrium, the mitral valve, the left ventricular outflow tract and the aortic valve. Throughout this rotation, what I try to is to keep the left ventricle in my center. Do not become obsessed with memorizing those angles, exact number. Always watch the anatomy. Keep your anatomy in mind. The right ventricle disappears as you enter the two chamber view. The aortic valve appears as you enter the three chamber view. So before we wind up, we will go through three errors that I have seen most commonly people developing. So it's kind of a recap. First, they place the probe too medially. Don't do that. Move laterally, encircle the apex until you get the septum aligned. Second, accepting a short, rounded left ventricle. Don't do it. That's foreshortening. Move caudally, search for the true apex. It has to be elongated. Lastly, judging the right ventricle size from whatever view I have got. Don't do it. Optimize it by rotating. Rotate gently until you get the right ventricle in its maximal true dimension. So this is my practical sequence, however I go about getting an apical view. First, the patient position. I start as laterally as I can. Then I first find my forechamber, align my septum, it parallel to my beam, check there is no foreshortening. I have my apex in view. I optimize to get the maximum right ventricle with rotation. Then I adjust my depth and my gain. The heart is now in my center. So from this optimized position, and now I have my optimized position. I will go to the 5-chamber view, then counterclockwise rotation to a 2-chamber. Continue your rotation, you will reach the 3-chamber view. Now do not accept the first image as the one which is perfect. Don't do it. Spend some time. It will take you hardly 2-3 minutes, but don't accept the first image as if it's perfect. A few millimeters, a few rotation and movement will give you the best picture. In critical care, mind you, these numbers do matter to us because our clinical decision is going to be affected by that. So our interpretation has to be done based on the optimal and best finding that we get. So if you find our practical approach useful, something you can do at the bedside yourself, then please like, share and subscribe to our channel. And it's very helpful if you do these things, as they help us in reaching people who have use for this video.